This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. You've already heard by now this Thursday, we're kicking off a new season of our Broadway on the Radio series, being the best of Broadway to WNYC and live to you in person and on the radio. Well, today we have more news. We're announcing a full spring slate. You've already heard about Chess the Musical this Thursday. We have its stars, Aaron Tveit, Nicholas Christopher, and Leah Michelle, plus Chess's director and book writer. They'll be downstairs. Then on April 17th, we'll be joined by the stars of Ragtime. Joshua Henry, Nichelle Lewis, Cassie Levy, Brandon Uranowitz, Benny Levi Ross, and Shannon Taub will all be here performing live at the Green Space. And then let's move on to May. We're bringing Ballroom to WNYC with the cast and the creative team from Cats, The Jellicle Ball. You can get tickets and info for all of these events and stay tuned for more by going to wnyc.org/events. And this Thursday's event for Chess is officially sold out, but you can still tune in live for free by tuning into WNYC at noon or by watching the live stream at wnyc.org. Now, let's get on with the show. In the new movie Project Hail Mary, Ryan Gosling plays a man who finds himself alone in space. Well, sort of. Gosling stars as Dr. Ryland Grace, a middle school teacher who wakes up one day to find he is the sole survivor on a spaceship light years away from Earth. He is on a mission to save the world. Earth's sun is dimming. Tiny creatures known as astrophages have been feeding off the sun's surface, and man, they are hungry. It becomes the focus of the world's best scientists to stop them. Now. Or else. Grace has to figure out how to complete his mission. Luckily, he has some unexpected help. A friendly alien he meets, who is also the sole survivor on its ship. They have the same goal, to save their respective planets from the sun-eating stuff. Project Hail Mary is exciting and funny and really heartfelt. It's based on the best-selling novel by Andy Weir and was directed by Phil Lord and Chris Miller. The movie is in theaters on Friday, March 20th, and I'm joined now by its co-directors, Phil Lord. Hi, Phil.
Hi.
And Chris Miller. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
So what do you admire the most about the original novel by Andy Weir? I'll have you go. Or who wants to go first?
Chris. Well, we read the manuscript when Ryan Gosling called us up, and it was thrilling. It was full of wonder and awe and spectacle, but at its heart were these very small, intimate relationships, and it was really about how, in order to save the world, you needed to make a friend. And so even though it was about an apocalyptic event, it was really optimistic and hopeful and emotional and funny. It had all the things that you want in a story.
A sweet, funny movie about the end of the world.
That works.
Yeah.
When Ryan Gosling, he had the rights to the book Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary. What becomes possible for you as directors when you have Ryan Gosling attached to the script?
I mean, he has so many different moves. And, and you see them in each of his films, he's trying something new. And so you need somebody with that breadth of experience for a story where he has to be terrified, he has to be bashful, he has to form this relationship with, a rock. And
we'll get to the rock in a minute.
And so you get to have all of those Ryan Gosling moves in a single movie. It's an incredible value.
Yeah.
Right. You need someone who can, command the screen as the only human being on screen for 2/3 of the movie.
Yes. When was a moment during filming when you knew that Ryan was the right person for this role?
Oh, man. We knew it before we started filming, because he's so thoughtful and so creative. He sweats all the details like us.
Oh, interesting.
And, when it came to details of his costume or just scene by scene, he was really thoughtful about how he saw the character. He had fallen in love with the book as well, and what would make the most engaging story. So we knew, in development, that we had a great partner.
And he's such a playful actor. We had auditions for of all the best puppeteers in the world to play an alien friend that he makes, and watching him be so nimble and responsive to these different performers and their energy, let us know that on set we were going to be in great shape.
Oh, that's very interesting. The movie moves back and forth between Grace's life on Earth and his time in space. Why did you think that was important to communicate about who Grace was before the mission?
So the movie takes place in two different time periods as Ryan is waking up in space and remembering the events that led him to be there. And that could have been disjointed, but the way Andy structured his book and Drew structured our screenplay, it's really a character study that happens in a quite linear way about somebody who's afraid to connect with folks. Mm-hmm. And it slowly, over the relationships and friendships he makes in the movie, becomes a person strong enough and open enough to make the friendships that is going to save the galaxy. Yeah,
you realize in the beginning he does not want to be there. He does not want to be there. We're just going to leave it for people who haven't read the book.
Yes.
But the thing that's sort of sad initially is he doesn't think of himself as brave.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think, it's hard for me to relate to a character who from the jump is like, I'll drive into that burning building and save those kittens, and has no fear, no vulnerabilities, no, weaknesses. And so that's why I think he's a very relatable character, because he starts this movie, he is scared. He doesn't want to do the job. He's full of fear and anxiety. And on Earth, he's also a character that has like social anxiety and sort of has to be pulled into it. And I think bravery to me isn't about not being afraid of something. It's about being afraid and then doing it anyway.
When was the last time you had to be brave about something?
Ever since I've had kids, it's a daily thing.
How about for you, Phil? When was the last time you really had to be brave?
Oh gosh, anytime we make a public appearance in any way, I know we look like or we sound like 6'2" Adonises just throwing touchdowns everywhere we go, but we may suffer from social anxiety ourselves. I'm an inside cat. Somehow this job keeps putting me outside.
We like inside cats. It's
That's
okay.
right.
You're public radio. It's a nice safe place.
This is more our speed.
We're discussing the new film Project Hail Mary with co-directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. The movie stars Ryan Gosling as a man whose mission is to save humanity, as well as his friendly alien friend. Project Hail Mary hits theaters on Friday. Andy Weir's novels are known for their scientific detail and accuracy. How did you convey the science in a way that was accessible to audiences? Because, accessibility.
Yeah, so the book is written in the first person, and Ryan's character narrates all of the science that takes, that happens throughout the book. So we approached it like it was a heist film. So one of our favorite movies is an old French heist film called Rififi, in which for some reason it's riveting to watch five men drill a hole in the floor for 20 minutes. And I think the reason is it's really fun to watch people do a job well on screen. And Ryan said, I am not a molecular biologist, but I can play engagement. And so that's a big part of it is he's interested in it, so we are.
Right. And thankfully having, one great thing is having Andy Weir as a producer on the movie meant that he was around and made sure that our science was accurate that we were doing. And Drew Goddard, who wrote the screenplay, is great at like condensing concepts that are complicated into digestible, entertaining little nuggets.
Yeah, we've had Andy on, I think, for Project Hail Mary, and he's a great interview.
Oh, yeah.
He really is.
Yeah.
He's got a awfully high EQ for somebody who, it came to light as a coder who wrote his own novel on his computer in the dark.
So many space stories like this one can be really scary. They can be very serious. And this has very tense moments in it, but there's a real sense of humor to it, and there's a real warmth to it. Why was warmth important in this film?
Well, it's a movie about friendship and about communication and empathy. And the book is funny, even though it is about, these serious subjects. And to us, we don't really try to think about genres, boxes, labels to stick something into where, our favorite dramas make you laugh and our favorite comedies make you cry. And so we wanted to, have the movie have moments of levity, have moments that make you cry, and have you on the edge of your seat. And we had a great partner in Ryan, who's a very funny guy. And it's sort of we wouldn't have been interested in making the movie if it didn't have a sense of humor.
And I think that, in this moment, it feels punk rock to make an affirming movie that means the audience well. Ryan is going through really difficult things in the movie, but the movie itself, it has a way of letting you know that he's going to be okay and that we're rooting for him. Mm-hmm. and even right down to the soundtrack. We have this great composer, Daniel Pemberton, and our first conversation was, he's not alone. The whole planet is rooting for him. So let's hear the voices and claps and stomps of like 1,000 people.
That's so interesting because we just got a text from one of our listeners that said, "Hi, Allison and team. I went to a screening of Project Hail Mary this weekend,
thank you.
And I have to say the casting and music choices were fantastic. What was Miller and Lord's approach to the music?"
Well, there you go. Well, we wanted it to feel like a mixtape from planet Earth, so a lot of the needle drops are from, there's like a Maori farewell song. There's this Mercedes Sosa song called Gracias a la Vida. We have music from all around the world in it. And the score, as Phil said, from Daniel Pemberton, has a large choral element and a very human feeling thing that we wanted just to feel like all of Earth was with him.
And Ryan starts the movie as a teacher. So Daniel brought in a whole class full of kids to clap and stomp and make the percussion for like the climactic action sequence. Like the kids were still part of his consciousness.
We are discussing the film Project Hail Mary with its co-directors Phil Lloyd and Chris Miller. Let's talk about his co-star, Rocky.
Yes.
So Rocky is out to save his own planet. They meet cute, as they say.
Yes. Meet very cute.
And Rocky is an actual puppet.
That's correct.
And the puppeteer is James Ortiz, who a lot of people in New York know from the theater world. He's really big here. He also voiced Rocky.
That's correct.
Why did you decide to go with the puppet?
Well, the whole movie hinges on the chemistry between these two characters and their relationship. And if it was Ryan talking to a tennis ball on a stick and imagining conversations, it wouldn't have had the same back and forth. We had having James and his team, we call them the Rocketeers. It took 5 people to operate the puppet. There meant that they could have moments of spontaneity, back and forth. They could improvise with each other, and we could really capture it. At the end of the day, it ended up being about 50-50 animation and puppetry, but it was a perfect blend, so much that you couldn't know which shots are which, but there was always James and the puppet on set so that we got these real moments with Ryan.
Yeah, the chemistry with Ryan can't be faked. You can't do that in post.
I like the idea of improvisation with him.
Oh my God, it was so much improvisation.
The hardest thing to do in a movie like this that requires so much planning is to make sure that the process accommodates spontaneity, right?
That's that's very interesting. You know what? That leads me to a question I ask a lot of directors. I'm going out of order here, but
let's do it.
A lot of directors, they say, my job is just to make choices. From the minute you get on the set to the minute you go to sleep and you get up.
There's a lot of decisions that get made.
What was a tough decision for you to make on this movie?
I mean, there was a lot of choices in how do you condense a book that's 16-hour audiobook into a movie.
I went to the same place.
It means killing some
that's
darlings.
Why you work well together.
Exactly.
Yes, in the book. So in the book, there's this sequence where they blow up Antarctica to slowly stave off the Earth's destruction,
You have to like slow the global cooling that's happening.
And we were really fired up to do it.
We
And
thought it would be
just
fun.
didn't want to be part of the relationship story with Rocky.
Right. There's certain things that you love that have to go to make it in the
And you
size of a movie.
And you keep it the main thing. Like everything you're doing on set and in post is about making sure that the relationship story is at the center.
And there's a second relationship story that's on Earth that's between Ryan's character and Ava Stratt, played by the amazing Sandra Hüller. And that was sort of the main core relationship of the Earth story that we really leaned into on that.
We'll talk more about it after a quick break. This is all of it. You're listening to All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. We're discussing the new film Project Hail Mary with co-directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. The movie stars Ryan Gosling as a man on a mission to save humanity alongside a friendly alien. Project Hail Mary is in theaters this Friday. I want to talk about Rocky just a little bit more. How many versions of Rocky did you have to see before you gave it a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up?
Oh, gosh, like
hundreds.
For a year and a half, we designed that little guy.
We worked with Neil Scanlon in the Creature Shop over in London, and they are experts in designing aliens. And we spent a long time, like with many variations of like a rock creature with 5 legs and no face, and trying to get something that felt appealing. And once we finally got the size relationship right, then we went to all this detail about the carvings on his body and what each facet of his carapace looked like. And it took a long time, but because of it, he's an appealing character, and you fall in love with him.
How did you decide on his voice, on James Ortiz's voice?
So James came in for an audition with Ryan. They were excellent together. Our casting director, Jeannie McCarthy, when James left the room, said, "I told you so." Because she told us like 6 months before, it's going to be James Ortiz. And so, he just, while we were shooting, he was part of the process of developing Rocky. And when we're on stage and we're shooting, there's this thing that happens, like you can't get him out of your head. So when you start imagining other voices, it just doesn't feel right. And then the thing, in animation, you say, you never trace a drawing. It will take the life out of it. And the truth is, like, James was Rocky, and anything we did on top of it just didn't feel right.
You built practical sets for the elements of the spaceship. We were talking off mic that, I've been on sets that they kind of look fake up close. They look great on the screen, but they sort of
They look great, a little bit blurry.
A little, exactly. But you said that your set was very different.
Yes, very, very real. We had an amazing production designer, Charlie Wood, and his team, and they were psychopaths about making this interior of the spaceship and exterior look as real as possible. And they were sourcing stuff from aeronautics companies, and it was so real, and it was 360. You really felt like you were inside of a spaceship. It was crazy.
What was the hardest thing to figure out how to build?
Oh. There were
Whoa.
What wasn't hard, so we built this whole spaceship. The spaceship itself has 2 different gravitational orientations. So that means that, like, if you're standing on the ground, there's like a desk and chairs coming out of the wall. Mm-hmm. So every set had to be taken apart and then put back together on its side for the scenes in which the gravity was on the wall.
But a lot of the movie takes place in this tunnel between Rocky's ship and Grace's ship. And we built this tunnel that was going to be semi-translucent, which when they were spinning their ships together so they had gravity, centrifugal gravity, that meant the light around the exterior of the tunnel was going to spin. So we had to build this light array around the tunnel.
So there's a set that's a tunnel that's like the length of the longest stage on the lot. And around the tunnel, there are lights all the way around, like 360 degrees, that turn off and on to create the sense of it spinning. Then there is this glass membrane wall built out of like molded plastic. and it reflects cameras and lights and all of these things.
I
It's
bet.
unbelievably inconvenient to
And
shoot
it took
through.
so much power for that lights. We had to steal power from the neighboring stages across the street and build a bridge over with a bunch of wires just to light the scene. It was a massive undertaking.
We were like the rats of Nim stealing power from the farmer.
They're like, oh God, the Project Hail Mary
Yeah.
guys.
Oh,
Here they
yeah.
come
Guys.
again.
The lights are going
Oh,
off
boy.
again. Luckily, that was also our stage.
I did want to ask you about Sandra Hüller, who most people remember from Anatomy of a Fall. She
yes.
plays
Amazing.
this amazing scientist on the ground. There's so much going on behind her face. Why was she the right person to play that role?
Well, first of all, anytime anyone talks about Sandra, they just start shaking their heads like, I can't believe she exists.
Yeah.
And she just has so much versatility. We didn't remember it when we started talking about her, but she's in this movie called Tony Erdmann where she's hysterical.
It's true. And then not just Anatomy of a Fall, Zone of Interest, all these wonderful films. She's got as much range as Ryan, and the two of them together really admired each other, and they really wanted to do a good job for each other. But she has so much nuance, and that part could have been played just sort of stereotypically like an ice queen. But she brought all this warmth and humanity to a person who has to make tough decisions, to try and save the world.
And she does a great karaoke singing
She's
The
got an
Sign of the
unbelievable
Times
voice.
with Harry Styles.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We'll just leave it there. People have to see the film.
Yes.
I understand you watched the movie so many times
Yeah.
to get to the final cut. What were-
Yeah.
that was an evil laugh. What were you looking for in those screenings?
Oh, well, the most interesting ones are when you put it in front of an audience. So at this point, by the time we locked the cut, we'd seen it with an audience something like 15 times, whether it was pile a bunch of people into the edit suite or, formal test screenings where you've got hundreds and hundreds of people there. But we road test a lot, and it's less about the feedback that they write down and more about the feeling in the room with all the other chickens that you have watching them and experiencing the film with them. That's part of it.
You can feel when people are engaged, and you can feel when people are checked out. And so
that's
you try to,
interesting.
you try to go, we're losing their interest. They're checking their watches. They're shifting in their seats. All right, something is not working here.
Right.
We find out what's confusing, and with all the science, you want to make sure that you're just giving just enough to make it not confusing, but also not like a lecture hall.
And you're also looking for those moments that give you goosebumps.
Right.
And the thing that's so beautiful about watching movies in a group is that you're all feeling the same thing at the same time. And you can feel your mirror neurons are firing and you're imagining what everyone around you is experiencing while you imagine what the characters on the screen are experiencing.
Right.
So it's this empathy workout that happens in the theater.
Well, when you were thinking about making this movie about countries working together to follow, to thwart an existential crisis, you had to think about climate change, I have to imagine.
I mean, it's never a bad time to, tell a story about what we are capable of when we work together and imagine that difficult things are possible. That's what I love about Andy's work, is problems can be solved. They're not just you don't just need Superman to show up.
Right. We read this manuscript in the 2020 in the heart of the pandemic when it was things felt really hard and maybe impossible. And this was a book that was sort of saying hey, if we can communicate and work together on things, we can solve problems.
Especially when we feel the urgency collectively. We were working on a movie, everything shut down in the pandemic. A week later, there was something called Zoom, and we were all on it, and we never skipped a beat.
And
right?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of the things, to me, it bothers me when problems are presented as impossible to solve because there's too much evidence to the contrary.
The name of the movie is Project Hail Mary. It's hitting theaters this Friday. My son loved it, by the way.
Oh, nice. Excellent taste.
17-year-old boy
Oh,
is what
nice.
you want.
Oh yeah, that's great. Well, we
Take
wanted
him
a movie
off.
that played 8 to 80, so he's right in the pocket.
I've
I'd
been
say 88 even.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
not?
88. Let's go with 88.
Let's go. It's got another 8 in there.
We've been talking to co-directors Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Thanks for being with us.
Our pleasure.